Thank you very much. Senator Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Ranking Member Bozeman. And I want to just thank Senator Fisher for your questions and your focus on food banks. My guest at the State of the Union was Allison O'Toole, who leads the largest food bank in Minnesota, and I appreciate you highlighting how important that is. So thank you. Colleagues, this is such an important hearing. I've appreciated being able to be here and listen to the give and take and the questions. And I'm going to just take a moment to remind everybody here about who it is, who are the people that we're talking about. 2/3 of SNAP recipients are families with children. 1/3 are families with older adults or people with disabilities. And Undersecretary Dean, I really appreciated your conversation with Senator Klobuchar about how we can overcome the barriers that working people face as they are going back to work and relying on SNAP as a really important resource for them. And Hennepin County in Minnesota is a great model of that. So thank you for that. And many people relying on SNAP are folks that live in rural communities. Nearly 175,000 rural Minnesotans don't have enough to eat. Food shelf data from 2022 in Minnesota showed that some of the biggest increases in food shelf visits occurred in rural Minnesota. So I just think it's important to ground ourselves in who it is that we're talking about here, and it's helpful to me as I think about what we need to focus on in this committee. I want to dig in a little bit on what we can do to connect people who rely on SNAP to healthy food, how it connects them with local producers and especially farmers markets. A little bit about what Senator Booker was getting at and Senator Welsh as well. So you have EBT cards that are basically debit cards for SNAP recipients to use to pay for their groceries. And each year, millions of dollars of federal benefits are spent at farmers markets in Minnesota so that shoppers can buy their food there. And of course, it's complicated, right? Because individual farm stands can't necessarily set up the technology to accept EBT cards. So what happens at a lot of farmers markets is that there's a central booth where people can exchange the benefits on their card for tokens that they can then use at vendor stands. And this works pretty well for shoppers and for vendors. But I'm hearing from farmers markets in Minnesota that there's some worry that this might go away, that there might be some change in this system. And of course, we want to make it easier, not harder, for producers to accept SNAP. So I'm going to just ask you, can you talk a little bit about how SNAP can reinforce and support local producers and what the USDA is doing to help vendors and farmers markets have the equipment and technology they need to process SNAP benefits?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. And happy to follow up with you to learn more so we can directly respond to that particular concern. But generally, we're taking a number of steps to try to make it easier for farmers to accept payments electronically. As you point out, or I think
Yes.
we were sort of suggesting you have to go into a farmer's market, to a central office, swipe your card for such a fixed amount, then you get tokens, and then the farmers can take and then the farmers have to go back to the central office at the end of the day and cash out. And that that put some friction in the system, both for the farmers and SNAP participants. So we're really trying to support farmers to make it easier for them to accept payment electronically. We've provided an e-commerce platform, basically sort of the back-end payment software. We are providing an app to farmers. So again, to try to move away from the tokens, but a more electronic and not just farmers markets, but also roadside stands. And we've recently provided a grant to the National Association for Farmers Markets Nutrition Program organization to help be the bridge between us and individual farmers markets to support them in this shift. So we welcome ideas for more that we can do. This is an absolute commitment on our end to bring in more markets and make electronic payment easier.
Great, thank you. I really appreciate that, and we'll continue this conversation because I appreciate it's good to remove as much friction as we can from the system to the benefit of the producers and also the customers. Ms. Long, I have a quick question about the food distribution program on Indian reservations, FDIPR, these ridiculous acronyms. So people living on tribal lands often live in food deserts. They're many miles from a grocery store. That means they're not going to be able to take their EBT card into a store. And one of the things that we do instead is allow them to receive a monthly food package. The question is what's in that package, and is the food in that package Does it meet the health and cultural needs of Native people? For example, many Native people are lactose intolerant, and so having milk in that package is not going to work. I know that you all are focused on this, and I appreciate this through the work you're doing with the Equity Action Plan. Ms. Long, in the 2018 Farm Bill, we authorized a pilot program to explore how the food distribution program could include food that is culturally appropriate and also hopefully procured directly by tribes. Can you tell us what we've learned from that program?
Yeah, thank you. I'd be happy to. Just to summarize, we have been able to, we have utilized the resources provided in the Farm Bill. We have, I believe it is currently 9 projects that are underway under that 638 process where tribal nations are responsible for directly procuring food and providing it to their members. And I'm also very happy to say that we just recently reopened that process and allowed more applicants. That period just closed, and we are quite confident that given the quality of the applications we received, we are going to be able to fully utilize the resources that have been provided to expand the use of that option.
That's great. Madam Chair, I look forward to continuing work on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Braun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Bozeman.